I never expected our Valentine's dinner to end with me pinning a stranger to the ground, my heart pounding as police sirens filled the night. But that's exactly what happened. It started off simple enough. Nikki and I had been dating for a few months, and I wanted to make Valentine's Day special. I picked a nice restaurant, bought her flowers, and for the first time in a while, she seemed happy. But beneath her smile, I could tell she was nervous. She kept glancing over her shoulder, scanning the restaurant. "Are you okay?" I asked. She hesitated before nodding. "Yeah, I just have this feeling." She didn't need to explain. I already knew why. His name was Ben. Nikki had told me about him on our second date, a guy from her college who had become obsessed with her. At first, it was small things, too many texts showing up where she was, staring at her from across campus. But as soon as she started dating me, it escalated. He sent her messages from fake numbers. He left chocolates on her doorstep. And worst of all, he knew about me. How does he know my name? I'd asked weeks ago, but Nikki had no answer. Now, as we sat in the dimly lit restaurant, I had the sinking feeling that Ben wasn't far, and then Nikki's breath hitched. Her hand gripped mine under the table. "He's here." I followed Nikki's gaze across the restaurant. At first, I didn't see anything unusual. Couples sat at candlelit tables. Waiters moved between them with trays of champagne and desserts. But then, in the farthest corner, I saw him. Ben. He wasn't eating. He wasn't talking. He was just watching. His expression was blank, but his eyes were locked onto Nikki like she was the only thing in the room. A chill crept up my spine. "We're leaving," I said, already pulling out my wallet. Nikki nodded quickly, her face pale. We paid the bill and walked out hand in hand, but I could feel him watching us. As soon as we got into my car, I checked the rearview mirror. My stomach turned. Ben was outside the restaurant doors, standing completely still, his head tilted slightly, like he was memorizing everything about us. I drove off, keeping my eyes on the mirror, half expecting him to follow. For a while, nothing happened. We got back to my place, locked the doors, and tried to shake off the night. Nikki curled up on the couch, exhausted. "Maybe this is it," she murmured. "Maybe he just needed to see that I've moved on." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But then, around midnight, a noise outside made my blood run cold. The sound of rustling bushes. I stood up slowly. Nikki's eyes widened. "Don't go out there," she whispered, but I had to. I grabbed a flashlight, stepped onto the porch, and swept the beam across the yard. And there, crouched in the darkness, was Ben. His eyes gleamed in the dim light. He wasn't startled. He wasn't afraid. He was waiting. For a moment, neither of us moved. The flashlight trembled in my hand as Ben remained crouched, his head slightly tilted, his eyes locked onto mine. "What the hell are you doing here?" I growled, my voice steadier than I felt. Ben didn't answer. He just stood up slowly, his movements deliberate, like he wanted to make me uncomfortable. Behind me, Nikki peeked through the door. The moment Ben saw her, his lips curled into a slow, unnatural smile. "I just wanted to see her," he murmured. "One last time." Something snapped inside me. I took a step forward, but before I could do anything, Ben lunged. We crashed into the ground, rolling over the frozen grass. He was stronger than I expected, fighting like a man who had nothing to lose. "Call the police!" I shouted. Nikki ran inside, and seconds later I heard her frantic voice on the phone. Meanwhile, I struggled to keep Ben pinned. His face twisted with fury, and he thrashed beneath me like an animal. Then, sirens. The blue and red lights washed over us, and suddenly, Ben stopped fighting. It was like flipping a switch. He went limp, his expression blank again, like none of this had even mattered to him. The officers yanked him off the ground and shoved him against their car. As they cuffed him, he turned to Nikki one last time. "This isn't over." Even after they drove him away, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ben was charged with trespassing and stalking, but the worst part, he only got a misdemeanor and a fine. A few days later, Nikki got a restraining order. Ben never contacted her again, but sometimes late at night she still double-checks the locks, because when someone like Ben fixates on you, you never really feel safe again. I didn't think much of them at first. just another older couple enjoying a night out, like everyone else in the restaurant. But then I noticed the way they were watching us. My girlfriend Emily and I had picked a cozy little Italian place for our Valentine's dinner. The lights were dim, the music soft, and for a while everything was perfect. Until I saw them, an older man and woman sitting 2 tables away, their plates untouched, staring. At first I thought maybe they recognized us, but every time I met their eyes, they didn't look away. "Do you know them?" Emily asked, shifting. In her seat. "No," I muttered, "but they're definitely watching us." A few minutes later, the woman stood up and walked straight to our table. She smiled, but something about it felt wrong. "You two are such a beautiful couple," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Absolutely stunning." Emily forced a polite smile. "Oh, thank you." The woman clasped her hands together. "My husband and I are photographers. We'd love to do a photo session with you both, free of charge, of course. We have a studio nearby." Every instinct in my body screamed no. "That's really nice of you," I said, choosing my words carefully. "But we're not really looking for pictures right now." The woman's smile faltered. For a moment, something dark flickered in her expression. Then, just as quickly, the sweetness returned. "Oh, that's a shame," she said softly. "You two are just perfect." She walked back to her table and I exhaled, relieved the conversation was over. But I still felt uneasy, and when Emily and I left the restaurant, my worst fear was confirmed. The older couple was right behind us. I pulled Emily closer as we stepped outside, my pulse quickening. The night air was crisp, but I felt hot, my skin prickling with unease. "They're following us," Emily whispered. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I could feel them behind us. Slow, deliberate footsteps matching ours. We walked faster, turning the corner toward the parking lot. I dared a glance over my shoulder. They had stopped at the restaurant door, just standing there side by side, still watching. "Let's just get to the car," I muttered. We climbed in quickly, locking the doors. As I started the engine, Emily let out a shaky breath. That was so weird. "Yeah," I agreed. "But it's over now." I was wrong. Later that night, we decided to stop at a mini golf course. We needed something light-hearted to shake off the tension. But as we played, Emily froze mid-swing, her face draining of color. I turned to follow her gaze, and my stomach dropped. They were there, standing just beyond the fence, smiling. A slow, unnatural smile, like they were posing for a picture. Emily grabbed my arm. "We need to go." And as we hurried out, I felt it again, that sickening, crawling sensation of being watched. We practically ran to the car, slamming the doors shut. My hands trembled as I fumbled with the keys. Emily kept looking back, her breathing uneven. "They're gone," she whispered. I didn't believe her. As we pulled out of the parking lot, my eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. The road behind us was dark and empty. Still, my gut told me we weren't alone. We drove in silence for a while. The tension in the car was suffocating. Then, headlights appeared in the mirror, a car behind us. It stayed at a distance at first, but as we made turn after turn, it followed. "You think it's them?" Emily asked, gripping my arm. I pressed the gas, turning down a side street. So did they. A chill crawled up my spine. I pulled into a CVS parking lot, hoping they'd pass. The car stopped at the entrance, just idling. Emily clutched my hand. "What do we do?" Before I could answer, we heard it. A sharp, hissing sound. Our tires. My heart pounded. Someone had slashed our tires. I reached for my phone to call the police, when another set of headlights flashed through the lot. A car pulled up beside us. The back door opened, and Mrs. Greddy stepped out. She tilted her head, her lips stretching into that same unnatural smile. "You took too long," she said softly. Then, before I could react, she got back in the car, and they sped away. By the time the police arrived, they were long gone. No fingerprints, no trace. Just 4 slashed tires and the lingering feeling that we had narrowly escaped something horrible. To this day, we don't know what they wanted, and I pray we never find out. I wasn't expecting much from my Valentine's Tinder date. Just a casual night, maybe some drinks, and an easy way to forget I was spending the holiday alone. Her name was Alex. She had a warm smile in her pictures, dark hair framing her face, and something about her eyes, sharp, intelligent, maybe a little mischievous. We matched 2 days before Valentine's, and she was the one who suggested meeting at my place. Normally, I'd be wary of that, but she was charming. Her messages were confident, playful. I figured, why not? She showed up right on time. Red dress, light perfume, a smirk playing on her lips. "You look even better in person," she said, stepping inside without hesitation. The night went smoothly. We drank wine, talked about bad exes, laughed about awkward first dates. She was engaging, interesting, but something about her felt off. It was small things, the way she never blinked long enough, the way she barely touched her drink, the way, when I asked her a question, she sometimes took a beat too long to respond, like she was trying to remember something. But I ignored it. Hours passed, and the snow outside had gotten worse. "You should probably stay the night," I said. "Too dangerous to drive." She tilted her head slightly. "Yeah, I think I will." It was almost too easy. At 3 a.m., I woke up suddenly. The room was silent, but something felt wrong. I rolled over and saw her standing in the corner, completely still, facing the wall. I swallowed hard. "Alex?" She didn't move, and then slowly she turned. Her movements weren't natural, too fast, too sharp. Like a glitch in a video, her body twisting toward me in an unnatural snap. Her face was blank, no smirk, no warmth, just empty eyes locked onto mine. A deep, guttural breath filled the room, but it wasn't mine. "Alex?" My voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. She took a step forward. Then another. I scrambled back against the headboard, my pulse hammering. "What are you doing?" She didn't answer. Instead, she lunged. Her hands clawed at me, her nails raking across my arm as I fought to shove her off. Her strength was unnatural, like something much bigger than her was inside that body. I managed to throw her off, sending her stumbling against the wall. For a second, she just stood there, breathing heavily, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. Then, just as suddenly as it started, she bolted. She grabbed her coat and ran, throwing the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. I sat there, shaking, gasping for breath. The entire apartment was silent except for the soft drip, drip, drip coming from the bathroom. That's when I noticed it, a foul, rancid smell. With shaky legs, I stood up and approached the bathroom. The door was slightly open. The mirror was smeared with something dark, long streaks of it running down the glass. The shower curtain was ripped down, lying in a crumpled heap on the floor, and scrawled in dripping, messy letters across the mirror was a single word: mine. I stumbled back, my breath coming in sharp gasps. The word on the mirror, mine, looked fresh, the dark streaks still dripping. I needed to get out, now. Grabbing my phone, I tried calling the police, but my hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Before I could dial, a loud bang echoed from the front door. I froze. Someone was trying to get in. Slowly, I crept toward the door, my pulse hammering. I checked the peephole. Nothing but darkness. Then another bang. Louder this time. I backed away, my mind racing. Alex had run out. Had she come back? Or was it something else? A cold draft brushed past me. I turned, and my stomach dropped. The bathroom door, which I had left open, was now shut. I hadn't touched it. The knocking at the front door stopped. The entire apartment fell into an eerie silence. Then from the other side of the bathroom door, I heard it. A whisper, low, guttural, not Alex's voice. "Mine!" I ran. I grabbed my keys and bolted out of the apartment, driving until my hands stopped shaking. I didn't go back that night. When I finally returned the next morning, the apartment was completely normal. No writing on the mirror, no mess in the bathroom, nothing. Alex had deleted her Tinder and Snapchat. No trace of her existed, like she had never been real. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone, I hear knocking, and I know whatever was in that apartment that night, whatever had been inside her, it's still looking for me.